know what would make that better? A cup of White Cane coffee.
Wow, that really is great coffee.
White Cane coffee, because every cup makes a difference.
It's not just about music lessons. It's about hard work, perseverance, dedication, self-expression, making memories. Let's make memories together.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome into the cafe as White Cane Coffee presents Coffee and a Conversation. Brian Hagberg with you on your daily local. And again, welcome into the cafe. Stop on down. The cafe is open in the plaza across from Tops. You can get yourself a fresh cup of Dragon's Roast like I got right here. Also some Danish cinnamon rolls. Breakfast burritos are always a treat as well. And if you can't make it down to the cafe, that's no problem. White Cane's also available on DoorDash. Just place your order, have your favorites delivered right to your door. You can also order your favorite roasted brew at home online at whitecanecoffee.com. And when you do stop in here, get yourself one of these special laser engraved tumblers. Get it filled with your purchase. When you bring it back, get 50% off your refill as part of the White Cane Coffee Mug Club. This is Coffee and a Conversation, and we are joined this week by some representatives from the Be Well Warrior Initiative. Jennifer, Eric, Kevin, thank you so much for joining us this week, and let's get right into it. What is Be Well Warrior?
Okay, here we go. So Be Well is the initiative that was started by a group at the YMCA. It was initially called Whole Health Wellness, but for some reason people thought that was all about nutrition. So we kind of did a revamp and it became Be Well, which was initiated due to some tragedy related to mental health that happened in the community. And the YMCA here in Warren County and our CEO knew that the Y was a great place to bring people together to support mental health as well as physical health. So it kind of all spawned from there. That then led into us doing Be Well Warrior, which the initial motivation was all about, or is all about, reducing the statistic. And it depends on where you check. Some of them say it's 18 a day, some it's 22, some it's 28. Either way, no matter what, 22 a day for active military or our veterans taking their own lives is not an option.
Whatever number you use, it's too many.
Exactly. It's just not acceptable. So I was not able to go into the military because of health reasons. So I've always been all about supporting. And when all of that started to come to be, then of course Jen got involved, and then Jen pulled Kevin in, and so it became, and then we brought Bob in. Like, so we just kind of bring everybody in on the same page.
We have the tendency to do that.
We do. Yes, we certainly do. But the other part of how we were able to really get things moving was through Pitt Peru, which is University of Pittsburgh Program Evaluation Research Unit. And they do a ton of different work. A lot of it's with social service, mental health, drug and alcohol, veterans, just a lot of different things. But they get grants and then they do the research, all the statistics, all the information, the technical stuff,
Right.
the behind the scenes, difficult stuff that I don't deal with. So they get all of that, and then they're able to do different programs and activities and things throughout the community. So I think they reached out to you initially, or somehow.
Well, I reached out to
it.
them about another situation, and then I was just blown away. There was like 100 people on this page, and I just started emailing people, and I said, I want to learn more about what you do. Right. And then didn't realize they had like 3 major initiatives and then all these people under each initiative. So then that kind of came about with this particular group.
Yeah, because they do programs specifically to reduce and end veteran suicide. Now they do say veteran, but we know we include for Be Well Warrior, we include also active duty and military families. So the big thing for us, and we make sure, Jen, if I forget to mention it, Jen always reminds me, is that family, like according to the VA, you have to be legal or blood relative.
Yeah.
We don't care.
Yeah.
Like she could be like my sister, and
Right.
she's like my sister,
Like
and
my
I
sister,
call
yeah.
him dad once
Right.
in a while. But because of that, like if I'm in the military and she's my best friend, then she needs to be able to be included and supported as well.
Right.
That's why we want to make sure we're doing that.
Or
So
a
that is a big
caregiver,
piece.
or a
Yeah.
neighbor.
It's
Yeah,
the support
extended
system is more
Mhm.
important than the DNA.
Right.
It's-
Exactly. And I get that the VA has to draw a line somewhere.
Right.
I get that. Otherwise, then they're helping everybody and anybody, and there's a different, different component to that. But because of all of that, when she connected with Pitt Peru, they shared with us some of the different programs that they're doing that
Right.
they have been able to. And it's not specific to them. It is a training that actually Carrie Swanson of CORE,
Yep.
which is the suicide prevention group in Warren. Carrie is a trained instructor for QPR. She's done it, she said, a few years ago with all like first responders. And so it's something that a lot of folks in our community have done.
Right.
Theirs is more specific to veterans though. So QPR is one of the trainings that they do. We are really just acting then as a conduit for Pitt Peru when it comes to those trainings or any activities that they're doing, so that we can get them into the community. Which I'll just do a really quick plug if
Sure,
that's okay, because
absolutely.
it's a great resource. Pitt Peru is doing, and you can just look up online, just Pitt Peru, and you'll find it.
And it's Peru, like
PERU.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Just like you would look on a map. It's
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And they do what's called SCOPE. It's a specialized training for overdose prevention education. Yes, yes. Blah, blah, blah. It is for first responders specifically. So police, firefighters, anybody that's doing that kind of stuff. EMTs and EMS specifically can get continuing education credits.
Mhm.
So that also supports
Yeah.
them. It is a free 4-hour training that they've done virtually. They make arrangements and then would sit in front of a computer. So, I use the example like the local volunteer fire company. They could have everybody together, get some pizza, have some
Right.
sodas, sit down and
sit in the firehouse, pull down a big projector screen, and
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And they can do that training. And on top of it, say they have 10 people there,
Mhm.
because of the grant, they're able to donate $75 per person back to the agency. So if they had 10 people there,
Right.
they get CEUs, they get the training, they get Narcan supplies on top of it, and they get a $750 donation.
Wow.
So that's why, now you see why I
Yeah,
wanted to put
yeah,
that
right,
plug
yeah,
in there
no,
for
and
Pitt
that's-
Peru.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's a great resource, and they just need to reach out to somebody at Pitt Peru and
Correct.
get that set up. And
Correct.
how
we
would they
can-
reach them?
They
They
can-
can reach us.
They
and
can
we'll-
contact us, or they can just simply go online to Pitt Peru, and the name of the training is SCOPE, like scope the mouthwash, just SCOPE. So anybody that's involved in that could get in for that training. So, now I got myself on a different
That's all right.
track
We went
for
on
a
tangent,
second.
so-
Yeah,
But a good tangent.
Yeah.
Because again, we're talking about you have Be Well Warrior, and that's a much needed resource for veterans in our area, and obviously, we all know everything that's going on with overdose and those kind of
Mhm.
things, and first responders needing to have that kind of training
Mhm.
to help the entire community.
Right.
This is not a segmented part of the population. This is literally could be anybody in the community.
Right.
Absolutely, absolutely, because people don't think about the fact that when they think of overdose prevention, they think of someone who is purposely using
Right.
opiates or purposely using fentanyl or
Mhm.
something like that.
It could be
It-
after a surgery,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's
And-
hard.
Or somebody who
Yeah.
has Alzheimer's or just,
Yeah, forgot to
brain
take their
trauma,
medication,
you know,
things
that-
they forgot.
I have brain trauma that makes me forget a lot of stuff. And so as a result, somebody could take more medication than they
Mhm.
intended to,
Yeah.
that
Right.
kind of thing. Narcan kits are available through our human services of Forest and Warren County. And also I know that Family Services of Warren County
Right.
also has Narcan kits available that you can pick up.
Mhm.
So if it's an older person, or say there's a little kid and somebody drops medicine and
Yeah.
they grab it, I don't know if it'll
Thinking
work on a
it's
dog or
candy.
something,
Right,
but
yeah.
yeah, like you could, and you can't overdose on Narcan. You can, or naloxone is
Right.
the name for it. So you can give 2 doses and it's going to save them. So anyway, side
So-
note, sorry,
So
tangent.
again, no, that's right. No, and that's
You said you wanted content.
exactly.
So we'll
we
give
want
you
to, we want to, and we want a conversation too. And
Yeah.
these are conversations that sometimes people shy away from,
Mhm.
and understandably so. They're difficult topics, and we don't want to shy away from that. We want to embrace these conversations because you can't do anything to correct these issues if you don't talk about them.
Absolutely.
And personal
Absolutely.
enrichment, just because you're not part of the mental health professional community doesn't mean you can't take the trainings.
Mhm.
I work with seniors,
Right.
but I also belong to a lot of the area nonprofits. So I did it more for personal enrichment,
Right.
and they welcome anybody and everybody who wants to learn more. So, just to educate yourself and then educate others would be, another reason to look into some of the trainings.
She's really good at getting me back on track, and that's what it was. We were talking about the training. So the QPR is question, persuade, refer. So it is for a layperson. Anybody, anywhere could take that training. It's a 1-hour virtual training. It is instructor led. So it's not like an on your own, do it whenever. You have to schedule it, but it's free. Pitt Peru is doing it. Theirs is under the veteran grant. So they do talk a lot about veterans, but it does work for anybody. Another one that they do is CALM, which is all about trying to remove lethal means. So if someone it does have a tendency or have thoughts of suicide or self-harm, you want to try and get any kind of lethal
Right,
means
yeah.
out of there. And so that's what they talk about. The third one that they're doing is ASSIST, which is through SAMHSA. You expect me to remember the letters for that? I
You
don't.
usually do.
I know. ASSIST, I don't always remember. But it is suicide, I think, intervention maybe. But
Sure,
it
we'll
is
go with
that we'll go with that. I'm not sure, but it is suicide. Again, it's suicide prevention and intervention. But it is a 2-day training
Right.
that is specifically targeting. Anybody can take it. They should do the QPR and CALM first, just as a precursor, but it's not required. So that's another really nice thing about how they do their trainings is that there's not a ton of requirements and that kind of thing, but it is for helping professionals. So whether it's a doctor, nurse, therapist, somebody who's first responder, a teacher, but really and truly anybody that
Mhm.
is interested could do it.
Should we let the cat out of the bag, so to speak?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, so we've actually been able to schedule
Okay.
an ASSIST training. So we were able to bring that to Warren. Beacon Light has agreed to host it. So we're super excited. There's only 30 seats available. That's the maximum that they can do. The instructors are actually coming from Safe Harbor in Erie, 2 of their staff up there, and she said they're absolutely great. So I'm just super excited that we're able to bring that to Warren County.
That'll be in March.
Yes,
So
March 5th
more
and 6th.
information coming soon.
Okay.
But if you're interested, let us know because we are going to open it up to any of the Be Well collaborative people first. And then if there is still room available, we can kind of reach outside of the county to different organizations as well. But if you want in early, let us know. We're going to see who we can get in first.
Well, and we're
Here.
not doing the actual registration. All we would do is then,
Pass
let
your
us know so we
info
can
on.
send
Yep.
the info.
Yeah.
But Pitt Peru is doing all of the registrations.
Okay.
And especially I think that's important because they can do CEUs for all different,
Right.
whether it's medical, EMTs, education type,
Mhm.
just regular education or social services. So that's a really big deal for a lot of people
Yeah.
to get 15 credit hours.
Oh yeah, that's
huge.
And it's free.
It's
Yeah.
absolutely
And
free.
which
Yeah.
makes it even bigger.
Right. We are looking for sponsors for lunch. So that because I only have a 30-minute lunch built in, that's,
Yeah.
30, she said 30 to 45 minutes. That's not enough time to even just
Leave and then come
Even
back.
leave,
Yeah.
come back
Yeah.
and have time to eat.
Right.
So we want to try and have lunch there. But of course, Beacon Light's already hosting us. We don't expect them to feed everybody, so that kind of thing. We're going to work on that.
So anybody interested in maybe catering that event, just reach out to you guys and we'll get them squared
Absolutely.
away.
Yeah. Or if, I can do the lunch if they want to sponsor, and
Mhm.
we would certainly recognize whatever business. That's one thing I have to say. I'm not from Warren County. I'm actually from the eastern end of the state. But Warren County is, people constantly like, oh, there's nothing to do and nothing going on.
There's so
They're
much
not
to
paying
do.
attention.
So much.
There's
So
so
much.
much to do.
Yeah.
Whether you want to go to the theater or go out in the woods or go on the river, or there's just so many different things. And there's so many businesses and agencies and families that are just so helpful and engaging. It's just, to me, it's just
And
wonderful.
speaking of,
Uh-oh.
so with Be Well Warrior, a lot of what we're going to be doing in the near future is engagement activities
Mhm.
in our community, in our region. So we're playing off of, there's so much to do here.
Right. Yeah.
And we're going to utilize those things and maybe tweak it to maybe create something a little bit new along the
Mhm.
way, but keep everything local,
Yeah.
regional, and celebrate that as well. So with Be Well Warrior, we advocate, engage, and support, and a lot of that is engagement with active military duty veterans and their families.
Yeah.
So we're trying to create, with the help of PIPRU, many activities that they can do as a community together.
Right.
So, kind of going back to the thing, there's maybe a culinary one in the works. There might be the equine one in the works. We have a lot of support with animals and canines. So those are just some of the things that we've been looking into.
There maybe
Yeah.
might be wink wink.
Wink,
Right,
wink.
yeah.
Probably 99% sure.
Right.
Those kind of things happening.
Yeah.
We've been, well, I shouldn't say we, Aaron's been in contact with a lot of motorcycle clubs and individuals who might be interested in maybe doing a Jeep run, or, maybe doing something with,
Motorcycle ride.
all sorts of things, athletics. A lot of people are involved in really hardcore athletics.
Right. So our CEO at the Y is Thad Turner. A lot of people he's very involved in the community, and a lot of people know him. But he was, you look at him, he still is a Navy SEAL.
Right.
But so I just happened to pull him in during a meeting, and I'm like, so we want to do more engagement activities. What about doing like a fitness challenge kind of thing? And he was like, I can do that. So we were even
Getting that
able
little
to pull him
sparkle
in.
in his
Oh,
eye.
yeah. He's like, I can do that.
Yeah.
He does a boot camp thing. And he was just telling us about a time when he did a special training over in San Diego. Coronado Island, for anybody that doesn't
Right,
know,
yeah.
is where the SEALs, one of their main places, I guess it is. But he had like people that just came in and signed up to be abused by all of the
Abused,
SEALs. Yeah.
Not to get fit, not to test themselves. No, they signed up to get abused.
You'll be
Oh,
fed after.
yeah. Or dead. I don't know.
One way
I
or
don't know. I'd be like, nope, I'm tapped out. Yeah, I can't do
It's a
that.
good
Exhausted
time
just
for
watching.
Yeah, just all of the different, and it was all about SEAL training.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, they want to challenge themselves and see what they can achieve and accomplish, and it was a week-long thing. So by the end, they were probably just like, I made it,
Right,
like
yeah.
I just survived. So that's awesome. But so he's going to do some of that. The idea here and how all of this really came to be from the idea of we need to end. My goal is zero
Right.
a day.
Yeah.
That we don't lose anyone, that the demons don't take them, that they don't lose the war within. And as a part of that is our advocacy and support. So whether it's connecting them to other agencies, but also for us to learn about the options that are going to help our warriors. The VA is doing some amazing work. I just did a training, and I don't remember what these letters. See, I don't remember all
You
of them.
usually do.
It's called VISN 4 is our region within the VA, and they did a mental health type summit. It was a virtual training, and they talked all about the different PTSD treatments that they're utilizing, the treatments for treatment-resistant depression, and the advances that they're making, and that it's a very effective. Because, you know, what we did 5-10 years ago for
Right.
PTSD, we realized we're still losing people. It's not working. So let's do some other things. And they're really working on that. So we're working to learn those things so that we can then share them.
Well,
with
and with the research and things like that, just into PTSD, you know, all these things that you continue to find out as the research goes on changes how maybe you need to approach certain.
Well, and
Absolutely.
that's true, because that's where the support comes in and the resources come in. And, you know, like my dad, he had a really good story about a couple weeks ago where he was talking to some other veterans in the room, and they were just saying, you know, we did, like, this is what I do for a living, and I'm a veteran, and I didn't know that these services were available. So trying to connect people with people. But then, you know, I'll let you kind of take care of that. But
I am a veteran, Vietnam veteran. And it's just to add up how many years ago it was since I got out. It's like 47, 48 years. And I can honestly tell you, and I think any Vietnam veteran can tell you that resources, what are they?
Yeah,
And when I got out of the service, one resource I knew about was the VA, you know. And, you know, other than that, you know, them and Bob Hope going on tour,
Yeah.
you know, it's going back, dating myself. But however, I guess I would encourage veterans to attend this event that we'll speak about a little later today, because 90% of what's offered, the resources, I didn't know about.
Yeah.
And like 47, 48 years later, here I am, just learning about them. And I can also tell you that the Vietnam veterans were not very well respected.
Well, right, and that was, I guess, going to be kind of my question. You know, you say, what's a resource, right?
Yeah.
When you got back, and it's so much. How much of that was just due to the fact that, you know, again, Vietnam as a whole was just something that people didn't really want to dive into and get their hands dirty and talk about.
No, the people, society didn't want to embrace it, and the veterans didn't want to embrace it. You know, being a veteran, and I got a lot of brothers and sisters out there that are veterans too, and I can tell you that when we stepped off that plane, I was not wearing my military uniform, but a few of us were, and I actually saw people get spit on. Disrespect is terrible, and they missed the big picture. They were at that airport because of us,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
And it's just this program touches me, really does. And when I retired here about 7 years ago, I decided I wanted to do something with the veterans, you know. And I looked at options and more options, and this came about, and I'm proud to say I really like being part of this organization.
Well, and I think there's a parallel too. You know, I wrote a story a couple of years ago for Veterans Day, and the focus was on, you know, the veterans who are essentially my generation and coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. And, you know, I don't think it was quite to the extreme where they were necessarily, you know, being spit on when they got home from the airport and things like that. But there wasn't that, you know, grand welcome home and thank you. And because again, it was a messy situation that once we kind of got into it, people became conflicted about. And then, you know, if you're somebody who's, you know, not necessarily in favor of the whys or hows or whatever of how we got into those situations, it becomes difficult at times to square that with, oh, well, my best friend was, you know, in the Marines and they got sent over, you know, and it's not like that person could just say, I'm not going, I don't feel like it, right? And so there's a lot of struggles there with those veterans, and I think a lot of them parallel the experience that the Vietnam veterans had when they came home.
You know, I agree with that. I also think whether you're a young veteran or an older veteran, there's some issues.
Yeah.
And I truly believe, and I have talked to all age groups, and the veterans are just, they want to talk about it. They, you know, it's almost like they're not sure they're heroes. In my eyes, they are heroes, you know. And again, that's what it's about as a veterans, and we're going to offer resources.
Yeah.
Where you come in, and I'll tell you a quick story. I could go on and on, but I won't. I won't tell you the gory details either. But when I first came out of service, I went to get a job. I went to over 150 interviews, and it wasn't just the public. It was businesses that were disrespectful to us. And you know, they say, "Oh, you know, you're underqualified, or you're overqualified, or you got a bad reputation." You got to remember, this is back in the hippie era, the love era, you know, free love and all this. And a lot of us didn't want to go in.
Yeah.
We had a draft system, so we didn't have a choice. It was either go in the service or go north to Canada.
Yeah.
And I can't speak Canadian, so I decided to go into service.
Not going to speak French for us?
No, I can't broken French. I can't speak. But anyhow, make a long story short, I just think that this is an organization that will give veterans an opportunity, young and old alike. And you know, I correct me if I'm wrong. I think we might have a job staffing vendor that's going to be there. And
Yeah, CareerLink has
Yeah.
has signed up
there,
to be there, and I don't
there's
know
an
if OVR,
opportunity there.
CareerLink is.
You know, a lot of veterans, even some young veterans, still haven't found their place in society or found a job. But there's opportunities there.
Right.
And this resource engagement that we're going to have, it's a situation where there's no pressure. You come in, you can go to all the vendors there. I hate using the word vendors. Let's say resource organizations. And you can go there and pick who you want to talk to. You want some privacy? We'll arrange that, you know. Just come out, get out in society, and be a part of society.
Well, and when you talk about just the Be Well Warrior as a whole, you know, as a veteran, how important is it? I mean, obviously you want to give people the resources that they need, but how important is it even just to have an organization like this where, you know, part of the goal is to just bring those veterans together and have a place where maybe they can, you know, congregate with other veterans and just share those experiences.
I think that is our goal, to have them come join forces as one, basically. Just say, you know, you want to talk to somebody about what your experiences were in the service, go ahead. You don't, that's fine too, you know.
I really think it's the word that keeps coming up for me is opportunity. We have been talking to a lot of different vets of different age groups. They served in different times. And the other piece, and this is true, there's a lot of them that were like, well, I wasn't a combat vet, or yeah, I was deployed, but I didn't do this or didn't do that. You're still a veteran. And just like it takes, like here at White King Coffee, it takes everybody that's here to make it work. Right? It's the same thing in the military, in any company. It takes everybody to make it work. So regardless of what part you play, whether you're the CEO or the secretary, I agree sometimes. That's my day too. Yeah. It doesn't matter. You're all a part of it, and that's what's required to make it work.
Yeah.
We want to support everybody, regardless whether it's combat or what era. And we've also recognized from talking with them is that how they connect is very, very different. Each generation is connecting very different. You know, there's a lot of folks that they'll go to the Legion or the MVets, and it's not just a lot of people, you know, like, oh, go have a beer. But they also, sometimes it's just a matter of being there, being in a place where you know there are other veterans there. Even if you really don't even talk that much to them. Just knowing they're there. But not every generation engages that way. So that's part of where, and Pit Brew actually does some engagement activities. We just recognize the value of Warren County, and that we want to do even more and do as many as we can. And that may include for a lot, we've learned about some different like Healing Waters, which does fly fishing. There's some different hunting groups that do hunting.
Yeah.
So working with some of those bigger agencies or agencies that are across the country and
Well,
in partnership and creating natural opportunities that vets can organically and naturally connect
Yeah.
however it works for them,
Mhm.
so they can be there for each other.
And then also too, come to the event because you want to know what everyone is thinking. What are some of the events? What are some of the activities,
Yeah.
engagement opportunities that you're looking for?
Right.
You know, if you don't already have it or find it here,
Yeah.
maybe it's something that we can build on.
Right.
So, you know, even if you're looking for other things to do, come to the event on November 4th, Saturday. And let us know what those things are. You know, that's kind of what we do. We
Yeah.
kind of brainstorm. We kind of
Right.
take that spaghetti and throw it at the wall and see if it sticks. So we'll try it. We'll try it for sure.
I'd like to touch on one thing about what Aaron said about everybody's position in the military. Some feel not worthy, some do, you know.
Mhm.
I think everybody should feel worthy because I was, when I was in service, I was on the USS Kitty Hawk, and it was an aircraft carrier. 6,000 of my closest friends were on there too. So that was fully staffed aircraft carrier. Made 2 tours to Vietnam. You know what? If we all didn't work together, it wasn't a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, everybody's job's important. I mean, you know, you go in there, you might be a personnel man, postal clerk, whatever, a chef, you know,
Mhm.
or you might be, you know, a flight director on the aircraft carrier, directing jets. Guess what? You go into service, you do every job possible. It's not just your rank.
Yeah.
You do everything. I
Especially,
can tell you
especially
this.
during those
Yeah.
deployments,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think
Oh,
from,
exactly. Oh, yeah.
you know, you have to be willing to step up and, you know, like,
Yeah.
like you were telling us
Right,
about
yeah.
putting the chalks around the wheels on
Yeah.
the
Oh, yeah. I
planes
mean,
and, you know,
I
to
can
know how
tell
to
you
do
anything
it.
about a jet, other than I know not to stand in front of
Or
them. You know,
behind
or
you.
behind.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Either way, it's not a good scene.
Right.
And, you know, but I help unwrap ships. I did this, I did that, you know, and we all did things like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't want to get too patriotic here, but, you know, the freedoms we have today are because of our veterans. I can't
Throughout
say
time,
clearer
absolutely.
than that, you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, you know, I remember even as a teenager, I had thought of this is during Vietnam, I would not have supported the government and all that other stuff, and I would have been against the war.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I have to be against the soldiers,
Right.
the military.
Yeah.
I don't have to, regardless of your stance or politics or whatever, I don't have to agree with whatever my government is doing or what the politicians are doing. I don't have to agree with them or support them. I can support and be patriotic about my country, about my fellow man in my country, and especially about my military.
Yeah.
Because now they are all there because they choose to join. But even then, they're still, like you said, like they can't say, well, you know, I don't really feel like going to Iraq right now.
Right. Yeah.
That's not an option. So they're doing things. And I appreciate what they're doing, and they're risking their lives for the freedoms that we have, that many people take for granted. And I want to do anything and everything I can to help them
Yeah.
with what they're doing.
Well, you know, and it's interesting. Like I said, the parallels that I see, because, you know, I was just over a year out of high school when 9/11 happened. And so a lot of my classmates, you know, and we had a lot of people who chose on graduation to join, you know, one branch or another. And now all of a sudden they're being thrust into the middle of this conflict. And it's, you know, when they joined, right, it's not like they had any idea what was coming down, you know, and going to happen for a lot of them just a few months after they were done, you know, with their basic training and just getting settled into, you know, their first duty station, wherever that was. And then all of a sudden they're being shipped off halfway around the world And then there's people, back home that are, protesting in the streets because they don't want us to get involved in in another
Right.
long drawn out conflict like we did in Vietnam. And,
And neither did the soldiers
Right.
want to get
Yeah,
involved.
no,
That's
and
what people
yeah.
forget about. Like
And
they didn't want to do it
yeah.
either.
and that's just it. And it's, you get torn sometimes because you can say, hey, no, I don't think this is a good idea for us to be sending our troops to this place for this reason. But at the same time, it's like, we're not making that decision. They're not making that decision. Okay, you're being sent there. Go do what you have to do. Take care of business and get yourself home and get yourself home safely. And it's okay to have that stance while simultaneously saying, I don't think they should be there to begin.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's exactly, people get too twisted up in politics. I'm not a political person. I don't
Right,
do all that, but people get so twisted up in it that they forget that piece.
Yeah.
That
They
I
forget
can
the
be
person.
Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
the individual, the
Yes.
group, yeah.
Yeah. And the patriotism of being an American, not, that has nothing to do with our actual government,
Yeah.
and who's doing what with what. It's a different thing. But
All right. Well, we've touched on it a couple of times. You guys have a big event coming up, and we'll get real into the details of that when we come back with more Coffee and a Conversation presented by White King Coffee right here on Your Daily Local. We'll be right back.
Providing a great cup of coffee and a better life for the blind and disabled. White King Coffee, because every cup makes a difference.
And welcome back as White King Coffee presents Coffee and a Conversation. We're in the White King Coffee Cafe, which is open in the plaza across from Tops. Stop on down, get yourself a fresh cup. Got me some Dragon's Roast right here in this special laser engraved tumbler, which you can purchase here at the cafe. Get it filled with your purchase when you bring it back, 50% off a refill. You can also maybe pick up a Danish or a cinnamon roll. The breakfast burritos are great as well. And if you can't make it down to the cafe, that's no problem. White King is also available on DoorDash. Just place your order, have your favorites delivered right to your door, and order your favorite roast to brew at home online at whitekingcoffee.com. And we are being joined by Jen, Aaron, and Kevin of Be Well Warrior. And you guys have a big event coming up on November 4th at the YMCA. Tell us a little bit about what's going on, Warrior Resource Engagement.
so I have been a vendor at veteran resource fairs
Yeah.
prior. And they are what I call pen and pamphlet fairs, where you walk around and, there's a pen, there's a pamphlet, have a piece of candy, keep going. It does connect people. It does let people know what resources, who to contact, that kind of thing. We want to make sure that we're doing those connections, but we want it to be a little different. It really needs to be, and from all the feedback that we've been getting from all the different veterans that we've talked with, it really needs to be engagement. That it's just like this,
Right, yeah.
like exactly like this coffee and conversation. That we could sit here and I could do a presentation, talking to the camera, tell you everything we're doing. Yeah, you get the information, but this is so much more engaging. It's so much more interesting. And the other thing, and this is one of the things that keeps popping up into my head, is one of our veterans said, like it has to happen organically.
Yeah.
You cannot force it. You cannot force the connections. And the same thing holds true with this, is that if we can create the opportunities for the organic connections for all the different services, all the different resources, the individuals that need it, that kind of thing. And I put it in a few different emails and things that reaching out works both ways.
Yeah.
So it may be kind of like Kevin said, like he didn't know about a lot of the resources. So there are some that he doesn't even know to reach out. But then once he does, the flip side is, and he shared this as well, is wanting to be involved in helping. So it may not be every resource that you need. You don't need to get involved in it, but you could get involved with it. Right? So I don't need to utilize that resource particularly, but I want to be able to help them. One example would be like our New Hope dog program. So they do service animals, they raise them, they do all kinds of things. We're working also with Paws Along the River, our local shelter, canine shelter, or animal shelter. They have cats and
Yeah.
heck, I think
Animals.
they have a bird. They have animals in general. They have a bird in there. They have all kinds of things. But they're also working with us so that we can potentially do an event that's all about canines, and so that way maybe that veteran comes home and he doesn't, like Kevin had said it earlier, but not, I don't know where I fit. I don't know what I
Right.
need to
Yeah.
do. So maybe they need to volunteer and be involved and help in a way that somebody else might not be able to do, that they'll be able to. And then they gain as well as the agency does. So that's the really the point of this event, is a resource engagement. So here's the resources, not just let's talk about what can I, when we get there, how can I be engaged with that? How can I talk with them? We're going to have a space in the gym, and somebody asked about privacy. You had mentioned the other day about that. We, as of right now, we have about 12 different vendors. I have a few more that said they're going to be there, but they haven't. I don't have them on they haven't filled out their registration yet. But so we'll see what happens with that. But we'll have enough room to spread people out, so that if, say, I'm running, a program and Kevin's like, oh, I could really be a part of that. That's something I'd like to. I need to fill out paperwork, or we need to sit down and have a conversation to make an appointment or whatever. They'll have the privacy to be able to do that. If it's more private, say it's mental health, drug and alcohol, housing, or the Allegheny Valley Veterans Center will be there. So maybe there's somebody that they, a friend who's homeless, a veteran who's homeless, or is about to be kicked out and they're going to need somewhere to go. They would be able to sit down with that individual, and we will have space in the Y set up so they can go to a separate room and have a private conversation.
Thanks to Brandon at Lifestyle Home Furnishings in
That-
North Warren.
Well,
Yes.
that's going to be a little bit different. So that's going to be in the room right next door.
Yeah.
So where our climbing wall is, we're going to have like some tables and chairs set up so people could do paperwork, that kind
Right,
of thing,
yeah.
if they need a private. But right next door to that is where Lifestyles, I am so excited and so impressed. Lifestyles, Home Furnishings in North Warren has agreed to let us borrow some actual furniture. So like some love seats. She's going to see if she can get us some recliners. We're going to have a carpet. So it's going to be really, really comfy. And White Cane is donating some coffee, and Kevin has been able to get some water, and his wife has graciously agreed to make us some cookies. We're
120 dozens.
we're really hoping. That's a lot of cookies.
Snickerdoodle.
She doesn't,
I
she
was
doesn't
just
think
gonna say-
anymore. You got her on the spot now. It's on the record. She's making
See how we
120
get bound
dozen.
through this?
So snickerdoodles, Karen, snickerdoodles. So that space we want to, and we found out that there are some TAPS is another program that who will be there. I'm pretty sure Katie's going to be. She said she would be there. That when they have resource fairs, they always have a lounge area so that our warriors, sitting and talking to somebody about mental health or drug and alcohol or whatever, it could be a lot to deal with, or just having that many other vets there talking about things could come up, or you just need time to just
We
chill.
vet on vet. You can talk to your fellow veteran.
Yeah, to
Maybe,
just sit and chat,
You know,
hang out.
a young vet wants to talk to a little vet. Or else.
He's like, hey, old head, I got some things for you.
Yeah, I'm known as the old vet. I had to get that in. So.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Not
Because
the
I-
very old vet.
No,
Just the
You know,
old vet.
we
no.
should probably mention some of the resource organizations that'll be there.
Mhm. Well, we have New Hope Dogs that I mentioned, Allegheny Veterans Center. The Allegheny Veterans Center also has AMVET is connected with them. Their resource. We've connected, and I don't remember now if Soldier On is going to be there, but even if they are not able to be there, because some of them can't, it's a Saturday, or it was kind of schedule wise, if they're not able to be there, we'll make sure that we have their information for sure.
Blue Star Moms.
Blue Star Moms, another fantastic organization that is all about the family side, because a lot of people, they think, the wife and the kids. Well, I'm a mom. Like, if my son was deployed somewhere, I'd be an absolute wreck. And I would need other people to connect with. And that's the idea. We're not trying to be the connection for everyone, but again, just creating opportunities so they can connect. I don't know what it's like to be a vet. I don't know what it's like to be a mom with a child in the military that's deployed. I don't know those feelings. But I know that people need the help. So that's why we want to give them that connection and connect them to those resources. So some of the other,
Senior helpers will be there.
oh yeah, senior helpers will be there for sure.
She was sitting there like, come on, come on.
You should have
What
highlighted
we
that.
do. We fill in blanks for each- Yeah, whatever I forget, she always
And vice
picks up
versa.
on. Yeah, yeah. National Guard Family Program will be there. The VA from Erie has signed up. So we've got a lot of really fantastic resources. But if there's anybody that wants to be there, that they have programs. And one of the things Jen even asked earlier, somebody from NPRC came through and she said, like, hey, do you do anything for veterans specifically? She said, we don't right now. We hope to soon, but that would be something, you know, whether it was a job or education. We did have CareerLink is signed up as well. So Quick Stuff, I talked with them. I have not gotten a registration, but I did talk with them. So I don't know. That is a small business owned by a disabled veteran. So he of course tries to hire other veterans. So that's the kind of thing that we really want. If there's anybody that's hearing this and says, hey, I really think that my business, or I know an agency that would be great to sign up, they could call the Warren County YMCA, they could call senior helpers, get connected with Jennifer or I. Is there a way to put like links and information to connect?
So yeah, I'll add this. After we air, but on our actual story link for this week's Coffee and a Conversation, I'll leave the video feed.
Fantastic.
Some of the links available.
Fantastic, yeah. And there's on our flyer there, warriors do not have to sign up for the event. There's a link so that if they want to sign up and give us some information, that is mainly so that we can do like a mailing list, so that when we're doing events and activities, we can let them know.
And we will not
Um,
share any
exactly.
information.
It would be just an
Exactly.
invitation.
Yeah.
Exactly. So because of the fact that most people are this way, but for a lot of veterans, and especially a veteran that has PTSD, they're even more cautious about their information and sharing things. So anybody that I get any veteran contact information, I will create a mailing list that's only in my email. And whenever I send out an email, their email addresses will be on the blind CC so that nobody can even see their address. It would look like it was going to nobody. Because it's nobody's business unless you want it to be their business, and then you can share it with them. That's not up to me. But there is a link that will take you to a form so that you can sign up as a vendor. And actually what we're doing is, instead of having a fee, because we're not trying to make money,
Right.
for anybody that's going to be a vendor, we're asking them to give a $25 donation or a gift card or gift certificate. Critter Clippers, actually here in Warren, they registered to be here. One of their groomers is a veteran. And she's going to be there. So, and a female veteran, and she is younger. She's not for the old vet. I had to dig on you, Kevin.
Yeah.
I figured I was coming.
Yeah, in there somewhere. So she's going to be there, and they were able to give us a gift certificate. Because then those gift cards, or if we get money that we can buy gift cards, that kind of thing, that's going to be our door prizes for any of our warriors that attend. So it's a way for us to give back, and it helps to support the agencies and organizations that are supporting us by being there. So that's a real, and we're going to have some food trucks.
Yeah.
I'll speak on that.
Yeah. The food truck guy.
I can do that.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've actually, this is great because we're sitting right in White King right now. I'm not going to do the commercial, I'll let you do that, but they'll be there, and they've have always been a big supporter of our community. And we've got one out of Erie It's called, which is kind of confusing because the phone number I'm dealing with is out of Bradford. So it's one of those old phones, keep your phone number type thing. It's called Brick Oven Pizza. They were most recently at Jake's Rocks event, and they were also at the Warren County Fair. I had my personal favorite was a dill pickle pizza. It was
Ooh,
outstanding.
That sounds different.
Yeah.
I like that.
I
I'd
asked
try it.
them to make sure they brought some dill pickles so I could get one. So we will accept more vendors. I should
Resource
mention,
organizations, right?
yeah.
Right,
resource,
yeah.
right.
Those
Or
food, truck-
if it's a food
food trucks are vital resource organizations.
No.
I
love it.
vendors because for 43 years in business, we used to have trade shows.
Yeah.
And I was always in charge and helping out on trade shows. And we would have
Get vendors,
110,
get vendors,
120
get
vendors.
Yeah.
I can't get that out of my mind.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to. Yes.
Well, that's
Thanks
what
for
we-
reminding me.
We even
Resource.
call it on there. We call it vendor
Yeah, I know.
registration. But there's a
Yeah.
link so that you can
Yeah.
fill out the form to get you on the list. Food truck or otherwise.
Right.
So,
That's
yeah,
true, yeah.
you can register as a food truck or as an organization. Yeah.
It's a week from this coming Saturday, November 4th, 10 to 4 at the YMCA. And if you still want to register as a food truck or an organization, resource organization,
I love
I
that.
got it.
Good job.
You're more than welcome to join. We're going to have a good time, and we're also going to offer a lot of resources to our veterans who deserve everything we can do for them.
We also had a question from someone that wanted to attend that was not a veteran, and asked if they were able to come. And I think yes.
The answer to that is yes. It's an open door policy.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure everybody in our wonderful nation here understands or knows about the veterans, the military. And I also think they know somebody that's been involved in the military. So if you want to stop on by, that's fantastic. Just mentioned that there's other resources out there you may or may not know of. And, we're just putting the offering out there to help you out.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and that goes back to what you said about, getting people engaged with resources, even if they don't become part of an organization, they're aware of it. That awareness in and of itself could lead to somebody else getting the help they need because,
Yeah.
for example, Kevin Riley, you go and 2 weeks later, you're out talking to a parent whose child has recently joined the service and they're kind of struggling. You say, hey, I know about this organization and you should get connected with them and they have resources that they can help you. And that, that kind of exponential growth of awareness is a big way that these kind of events can help.
Yep. So if you look at our logo that we made up, it just says "Be Well Warrior, Advocate, Engage, Support. You are not." I called Jen. Hey, this is what we need to do. She's like my research queen. She's constantly researching me and then bliss bombing me with stuff. Her last name is Bliss, so that's what I made it up because there's days where I'll get 5-10 emails with, "Oh, I found this link. Oh, this is a good grant. What did you think? Oh, look what else I found."
I wear that proudly.
Yeah.
I like the bliss.
She bliss bombs me, and it's wonderful stuff. It's great resources, great information. So even if we don't know the answers, we're gonna do what we can to find what you're looking for. It's too often that somebody does need a resource and they have to call this person, then call that person, then call this person. By then they're like, and especially if you're already in a bad spot.
I'm exhausted.
Yeah,
you
like
know?
that. I'm done.
Yeah.
That's too much. I can't keep doing this. I'm just wore out. How many times can you say your same story and say, I need help, when it's hard to say that for anybody?
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So if you can just come and talk to one person that can then make some different connections and help you with that, that's what we want to accomplish.
I recently talked to a veteran. I shared this at our meeting too. And the veteran told me, there's two questions you ask a veteran. Are you alone, which is a very hard to fix. And that's what I think we're about, trying to help them to become maybe a little lonely, but lonely is easier than being alone.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I mention it probably too often, you know, and I think about it. I think about some of my fellow patriots. I had to put patriots in there.
Yeah.
That, you know, that friends that I lost in the service. You know, when that Vietnam Memorial comes by in the cities and all that, it's first for a few years I couldn't even go, and then I started going. And it's sad,
Yeah.
but, you know, and I just want the veterans out there to realize they are not alone. We're going to try to give them all the help we can.
Yeah. You mentioned the traveling wall.
Yeah.
What you're talking with the
Right.
Vietnam Memorial Wall in DC. It's a
Yeah.
miniature. I mean, but it's still very
It's
big.
still huge,
A
yeah.
miniature replica of the wall. They take it from place
Right.
to place, and actually came. So my wife is a veteran, and we were stationed out in Colorado Springs, and they came to Fort Carson with the wall, and I had the opportunity to go down and cover the opening event.
Right.
And you know, it's one thing when you're down in DC and you're walking and you see. I think for most people, when you're there, you expect to see some veterans along the wall and that kind of thing. But then when you're out and it's in your community and you're seeing veterans who you know and you know have maybe grown up with or were friends with or whatever, and to see the emotion that so many of them have when they get to certain panels in the wall really drives home, I think, you know, the impact of not just what that memorial is, but what it represents.
I remember going to the actual wall with my mom and dad as a kid, and I never saw my dad cry. You know, like I just didn't see it. And when we were standing there, and I remember being so shocked and looking up and being like, my dad's crying. Like he was in the Navy. He was the, you know, the protester, but still like, okay, I'm going in. And he went in before they could draft him, kind of thing. But
So I am your dad.
yeah, yeah, you are just like my dad in a lot of ways. But one of the things I just want to touch on, and this is, a veteran is a veteran.
Yeah.
And what's funny is when you get a group of them, I met with 3 veterans, and at one point they started military talk.
Yeah.
And they lost me on some of it. There was some of it though. I was like, oh wait, I know that because I was married to a veteran. So I was like, okay, I know that. Yep, no. It was kind of like hearing somebody and picking up like broken pieces of their language.
Yeah.
They speak differently, but each generation is interacting differently. You know, the Vietnam era and that era of veteran, they engage quite differently by going to clubs and being involved in different things in the way they involved in the community. Many of our generation, like Desert Shield, Desert Storm veteran, that era, they engage differently than what the younger ones, that are coming back, or that are in active duty now. So that's part of why the resource fair that's a piece, but that may not be exactly the right fit for everybody. There's one of our veterans that we connected with told us about another vet who he connects limitedly, like doesn't really connect with very many people. And he doesn't want to connect as a veteran, but he still, as a human being, needs to connect
In a
because
specific activity.
Exactly, in a specific activity related to Jeeps. He loves his Jeeps. He loves going out in the Jeep and climbing and doing all that they do. So that's part of why we're also doing the engagement activities. And at this event, those are resources, but we also want to identify people who either maybe they already have something like the Jeeps and that's what they know. I don't know Jeeps.
Right. But you can
I've ridden in one once.
you can
That's
go to
about
them
it.
and say, well, hey, you like Jeeps. There's a club here
Right.
in what, the Jeep Wranglers Club.
Exactly, and that's what he told us about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like with the dogs, the
Right.
canines, you know, maybe someone is looking for a canine for PTSD,
Right.
but maybe they just like dogs and they
Yeah.
want to volunteer with them.
Right.
You know, the volunteer opportunities in our community, there are so many.
Endless,
And,
endless opportunities.
you know, everybody's fighting for the same people to volunteer
Yeah.
for their organization. It's whatever your passion is,
Right.
Right.
whatever you connect with.
And I think for a lot of the older vets have found their passion. Maybe not all, but a lot of them they've found their groove. The younger vets, a lot of them I think are still looking, so they need the connection with the vets who have found their groove.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not to pigeonhole everybody, but there's, because there's some that they just got out and they're totally in, they're doing great and they're in their groove. So being able to connect so they can speak military, so that they can recognize and share things with, okay, like there might be something that Kevin's like, listen, this is one of the things that I do, or like, hey, let's just go, let's go golfing, let's go hang out, let's go have a coffee and just chill and talk. And it doesn't have to be anything about being a veteran or military, but just connecting with somebody else who's been where you've been. That you're not even talking about that. Maybe all you're talking about is Jeeps or riding motorcycles or whatever, but just being able to connect with somebody.
Getting back to being a member of society.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do.
Figuring out where you fit and how you
Yeah.
fit in it.
Well, and that's another thing too. It might be 4 years or it might be 40 years and you're returning to Warren. You know, maybe you grew up here and it's been decades since you've been here. How does that look like? What does that look like for people when they come back? They're like, everything has changed.
Yeah.
You know, we joke about, oh, nothing ever changes
Right.
here.
But
It
there's
does.
a lot of change.
And
Yeah.
so if you just need somebody to maybe show you around town,
Yeah.
the chamber would be an amazing place to
Absolutely,
go.
yeah.
They are always looking for people to take on different tours, to introduce different people,
Yeah.
to get involved in events.
The Visitors Bureau.
The
does that.
Visitors Bureau
Oh,
is
yeah.
huge, just, the coffee shops,
Right.
come in here. Bob will talk your ear off. He'll be very welcoming,
Both
if-
of them, if you let them.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
Vicky
sure.
too. So, like get involved with the service club,
Yeah.
the Lions and the Kiwanis and Rotary
Yeah.
and, Zonta.
Well,
We'll
and that's
all be welcoming.
Yeah.
not everybody is going to engage with service clubs,
Sure.
but there's going to be some that are. Not everybody's going to engage with, arts and crafts or military or going hunting, whatever.
Right.
But recognizing that there are
Sure.
all those options that Jen just mentioned, and it's endless opportunity. But again, it's opportunity.
Another
That's
thing
what we're
being
trying to make
is,
sure we have.
volunteering we talked about, but also jobs.
Mhm.
But if you want to open your own business as a veteran, there are a lot of
Yeah.
people here in Warren County that can help you with that
And
on a
there-
one-on-one.
And there's a lot of
Yeah.
additional resources that you have access to as a
As a
veteran.
veteran, absolutely.
That, like, for example, we didn't have, because I'm not a veteran and neither are Andy or Chris. We don't have access to that, but as a veteran, you have access to some additional resources
Right.
that can help you not only get started, but build a sustainable business model.
Right. And actually, I had thought of John Papalia at the WCCBI. When Jen mentioned that, made me think of, because of Be Well and what we're doing, John was like, wait a minute, you guys might be a good group to help connect. I have a friend who's a vet.
Yeah.
He's been involved in being a guide on some of the hunts that are geared towards vets. Yes, hunting trips and stuff. And we would really love, we've talked about having one here. Maybe you guys could help us. Absolutely. I'm not a hunter, but they are. And
But I'm,
that's what
I'm
they-
shocked that John suggested a hunting trip.
Right?
Yeah.
I work with his brother Andrew, and he's the same way. He's in the
Yeah.
woods,
I'm
it's where
shocked
he
you
belongs.
didn't suggest a fishing trip.
or a golf outing
Oh,
with
yeah,
Andrew,
right,
right?
Just, but that's the thing, is that because we have different resources, we want to connect them, and what I by myself could accomplish is so different and so small compared to what I can accomplish when those other people step into the room.
Yeah.
You know, the skills and the interests that John has and the connections that John has, he's able to help with certain things. And he said, one of the things as we're talking about it is, well, where are we going to house all these vets when they
Yeah.
come for this hunt? Well, where would be a perfect place to go? I have somebody who does Airbnb cabins up in Scandia, and then they're still in Warren County. They're in nature, which is part of what is
They're
so
they're
healing,
potentially close to a place where they're going to go out
hunting,
because,
anyway.
you know,
Yeah,
because again, you've got a lot of veterans who are physically disabled too, and maybe
Right.
can't, you know, trek as far as they used to be, and so now you have that
Absolutely.
opportunity.
and
as well.
there's an organization that I used to work with that's called LEEK, LEEK. It's Leek Hunting and Mountain Preserve is what I believe that's the right name of it. It's over by Coudersport, and it is specifically, they do different hunts throughout the year
Yeah.
for disabled veterans. So they have equipment. So they can do the track chairs. They have a blind that's up that goes on a scissor lift. They have all kinds of different stuff. But being able to connect those resources
yeah.
so that, you know, what John wants to do this, John and his friend want to do this hunt. Well, I'm not going to help with the hunting,
Right.
but I can do all kinds of other things.
Yeah.
We can connect them with other resources. And also that's the other piece of with the resource event is getting a list of people that are interested, veterans that are interested in learning more about these different events. Then you tell me what you're interested in. We'll share the email. We'll make
Right.
sure we reach out to you. And again, it's not just that they want to go on a hunt, but maybe they're really, really good. There's one of the veterans I talked to the other day. He's like, I was born and raised in this area. I've spent most of my time out in nature and on the river. So when you want to do that kind of stuff, I can do that.
Yeah.
We were able to connect with Piper Van Ord at Allegheny Outfitters, who is a veteran and is all about the outdoors and being on the water. And even in her off time, even if it's her job, it's her off time, it's everything. And she's just a rock star with that stuff. So she's the perfect resource that when we want to do, you know, an on the river kind of activity, she's going to be
Our
able to
go-to,
help us.
yeah.
Yeah, she's our go-to. So that's, you know, it's just really, it is all about community.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really what and Warren is very much a community oriented place. Warren
So-
County, I should
Yeah.
say.
So
Not just
Erin,
the city.
I have a question for you.
Oh, boy.
So at the very beginning, before we started recording or, you know, doing this,
Mhm.
you were afraid to be on camera.
Oh, no, I
You
wasn't
weren't
afraid.
gonna-
I just didn't want to.
She-
I didn't say I
she-
wasn't going to shut up.
She hasn't been shy, that's for sure.
No, I don't do
Editing
shy.
nightmare.
I don't do shy. I don't do subtle.
Yeah.
You know, I just didn't want to be on the internet.
Right.
Aaron, can you touch on the per capita veteran population, please?
I was thinking of that after I just put ice in my
Yeah.
mouth. Thanks.
That's a good call. Right?
Yeah.
Just as soon as you put the ice in, hey, why don't you talk about
Again,
this?
did it on purpose.
Yeah. Thanks, Dad. Right?
Good job. Thanks for looking out for me. So, and I actually did just think of that just a minute ago, is that Warren County, not by numbers, but per capita, we have the highest veteran population in the state of Pennsylvania. And a lot of people don't realize that. According to, I believe it was the 2021 census, we have close to 4,000 veterans. So, and I'm sure that has changed in 2
Right,
years
yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
But so as a result, per capita, we have the most. Why would we not be all about our
Yeah.
veterans?
Right.
Why would we not be all about helping them? And we don't know, you know, exactly what age groups. I don't have the statistics broken down to that point, but let's get them connected, you know, so that, and again, it's not somebody, when they were explaining, Jen talked to a friend who talked to a veteran, and the way it came across to him was like we were trying to get all the veterans in one room and they could do like a little support group.
Yeah.
And that's, if you want to do that, rock on, I'll help you do it.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're trying to do. We don't want a bunch of folks standing around holding hands singing Kumbaya. That's not our intent.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that there is anything wrong with that. you know, my mom and dad used to sing it to me to make me go to sleep. I'm all about it. It's so good. However, that is not, it is figuring out what fits.
Yeah.
Helping to be a conduit, so especially for veterans, because we have so many, because the need is here, and because I don't want anybody ever to lose the war within. I just don't. Suicide is what triggered, and that's a bad term to you, but it's what triggered SAD to say we need to do more with incorporating mental health into the YMCA, which we are doing. And it is a wonderful place to be. That does, just by being there, whether you're working out or there for an activity or just being social, it helps people to connect and be better mentally, our mental wellness. So that's what caused all of that. That's learning statistics is what caused me to say, like, you know, just raise my hand and say, hey, we got to do this. Reaching out to Kevin and Jen saying, hey, we got to make this happen. It's just, we gotta do
so when you say, you know, 4,000 veterans in Warren County, and that's 10% of the county population effectively. And when you look at that and say, if we can find a way to get you know, even half of those veterans to come together and become an active, organized, vibrant group within the community, how much better does that make all of us?
yes,
You know,
absolutely.
when you have even just, you know, 2,000 people that are constantly going out and doing things and being active in the community and being engaged and organized and saying, hey, look, there are these things to do. And yes, primarily it's open to veterans, but well, hey, we like this so much as a veteran group. Let's open it up to some other members of the community. And again, it grows and it makes everybody better off.
Thank you so much, because that is it's very well put. As it's about not just support as a veteran. Yes, there are supports that are specific to veterans. However, you are still a human being. You know, regardless of your experiences, where you come from, who you are, your whatever choices you've made, regardless, you're still a human being. And we're focusing more on what can we do to help improve the quality of life, what's going on with them, how can they be engaged and have those organic opportunities to improve their life. If you have more value to your life, the quality of your life is higher, you're mentally feeling better, you're physically feeling better, you don't want to, anybody that's committed suicide or attempted suicide, you ask someone who has attempted suicide, did you truly want to die? No, they don't. Nobody does. It's that they want whatever they're going through to end. That's what they're trying to end, not their life. They just don't feel that there's another way out. They don't
struggle.
Exactly.
Whatever it is.
Exactly. They just want that to end, whether it's from a physical thing, mental thing, relationship, whatever it's all about. So as a result, if we can make all those other things and support them so they can do what works for them to make their life better, then we can potentially reach that 0 a day.
Well, and again, you look at, you talk about all these different, events and organizations and things like that. And so often, if somebody just has that one thing to look forward to, right? Like, oh, I know every Wednesday night I go down to, the Eagles Club and we play trivia.
Tuesday
Tuesday
night at the Eagles.
Tuesday, but even just that one, and in the grand scheme of things, it's a small thing.
But it's something to look forward to.
That one
It's
thing
something
could
big.
be the difference.
Yeah, and it's something big for someone.
Yeah.
Right. Just something to engage with, something. There was a speaker that I saw a few years ago. His name is Kevin Hines, and he is a survivor of a suicide attempt from the Golden Gate Bridge. He jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge, which Most people don't survive.
Right.
He did. And he said that as he was walking there, that if in his mind, he told himself, and you'll hear a lot of people who have attempted, that they'll say something like this. And he said, if one person says anything to me, I won't do this.
No.
Nobody said a word to him. So he did it.
Yeah. Bad.
And it was all because of mental illness,
Right.
and that he just got to the point where he just couldn't handle
Yeah.
the mental illness anymore. And of course, he still struggles with it, but he has a very different perspective. He's taken a different approach to dealing with it, and really has improved the quality of his life, and is doing well overall. But a lot of times that's all it takes is that one thing.
Yeah.
So if that one thing is, I told Kevin I'll be at trivia next week on there, or my team's waiting for me, or I got to get home to my dog, whatever it is. It could be just that
Yeah.
one thing that does it, and we want to help people find that if they don't have it.
It's interesting that you mentioned that story about the surviving the bridge. I saw something the other day. I think it was maybe the Facebook post or Twitter or X or whatever. But it was a photo of a person on, they had climbed over the barrier and were getting ready to jump, and people came and stopped them. And I mean, at that point, by the time they had taken the photo, there was a rope around their waist, I think. But I mean, there were people crouched down on the ground with their hands between the bars, just holding on for dear life to that person's leg. And somebody else was holding on, had their arms, and somebody else was giving them an embrace. And the point was, it doesn't necessarily have to be you physically seeing somebody getting ready to jump, but if somebody's at that point, just grab onto them
In whatever way.
whatever way you can, grab an arm, grab a leg, grab a foot, give them a big hug, but in some way grab hold of them and do not let go until
Okay, but-
absolutely.
So it could be as simple as,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yep.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
It's okay. And just that human connection that people forget about.
Yeah.
And again, I asked permission. Is it
Right,
okay
yeah.
because not everybody wants to be.
Right.
There's my instinct. We had our Halloween event the other day, and one of the little boys was getting upset. He was very overwhelmed because he does have autism, and I was aware of that.
Yeah.
My instinct is to reach out,
Right.
and I was like, no, that's going to add more to his sensory overload. What he needed was less.
Mhm.
So what can I do? I had him go a different way to enter the Y,
Yeah.
just because it would help to reduce his sensory overload. So it's just recognizing, hey, everybody has a different way, and what can we do to help?
Well, and that is another thing too. When I took my QPR training the other day, somebody was saying that now what they're doing is they're putting signage near a lot of bridges.
Yeah.
So if someone isn't physically there, there is something there.
Yeah.
They do post people, especially at
Yeah.
the Golden Gate Bridge, but there's a lot of bridges now that they either have fencing or whatever. People can still find their way around it, but they post signs, they post people.
I've seen phones. I want to say it's the Sunshine Bridge, I think, in Tampa has phones
Okay.
that
That's
if you are in crisis and contemplating suicide, they want you to pick up the phone and call.
Right.
It's not just like one. They're interspersed throughout.
Well, yeah, and just like Kevin Hines said, is that he wanted one person to say something and then he
Yeah.
wouldn't have. A lot of people say, just give me a sign that this isn't what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
Because they don't really want to die.
Yeah.
So one sign, and
So
it could be literally
physical
a sign.
Yeah.
or a phone. But
Right.
yeah,
Yes.
and what they were putting on those signs was the 988 number.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that has been shortened somewhat recently. So I know that's what we've been trying to do on our
Right.
social media pages, is to get that information
Right.
out as well.
Mhm. And for veteran suicide, there was an 800 number for veteran suicide hotline or crisis line, because it may not always be suicide. It could just be crisis. I'm in a place where I just need to talk to somebody. I don't know what to do. How do I deal with this? you can call, you can dial 988, and for the veterans specifically, it's option 1 is what you dial to get the veterans hotline. But I do want to mention, and Jen brought it up, is that in knowing what to do, what to say, watching for the signs, that's a huge piece when you learn about suicide prevention. So in QPR, Calm, there's another one called Be There, Give an Hour. There's a lot of different resources about mental wellness. And a lot of people, when we say, oh, I have mental health, well, yeah, so does everybody else.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody has mental health. Not everybody has a mental illness.
Right.
But there's a lot of people with a physical illness, but if we say physical health, they think of it totally differently.
Right. Yeah.
Physical health, mental health, same thing. It's about health and wellness for your mind and your body. This doesn't operate without this.
Right.
This doesn't operate without this. They are connected, they go together. These trainings and some of the different things, and I forgot to mention earlier, Pitt Peru also does moral injury and military sexual trauma trainings. So, and for anybody that doesn't know, moral injury is for someone, and I'll use the example, I know an individual who was a sniper in the military, has 34 confirmed kills. That's part of what his job was in the military. And the very first one, he threw up afterwards. Because it goes against your moral code. We are morally told not to do XYZ, but then in the military, especially for police, a lot of different jobs, we'd have to go against what our moral code is. So there is moral injury, and they do training specific to that. Because we do talk about, 22 a day or 28 a day, whatever number you go with. But it's not always just about suicide. A lot of times it is just about what happens and how you deal with it. So those resources are out there, but the QPR, Calm, Assist, Be There, a lot of those trainings, one of the first pieces they talk about is understanding the signs and symptoms for someone who is in a crisis state, we'll call it, not necessarily suicidal, but in a crisis state, and what to do to deal with it, how to talk to them, what to say, how to connect. And even if all you ever remember is 988, say by chance you can't remember that and you can remember 911, call 911, they'll do a warm transfer to 988 or whatever crisis number is in their area.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you, Brian, so much for everything. And you asked for content we gave you. Did I give you a three-piece series?
No, this is, again, this is why, or part of the reason why we started this weekly program. We want to have these, and why we called it a conversation, right? I mean, the whole point is not for us to sit here and be formal and stiff, and I ask a question and you answer the question, and then because it needs to be a conversation, because that's how you get the most value out of the information. I mean, you guys all have different pieces of information that's valuable, and that by just us sitting around having a cup of white cane coffee, and shameless plug for doing all the time.
or hot chocolate
Or
with
hot chocolate,
and
yeah.
a scone before. Oh my God, their
Yes.
scones are to die.
Yes, so
Yeah, they're fantastic. Anyway.
yes. Anyway, we will shamelessly plug white cane at
Yeah.
every opportunity, but
Well, they support us unbelievably as well, so I am very appreciative.
but again, the whole point is to have these, what I consider to be vitally important conversations. I mean, yes, we can take your flyers and your information and write up a little story and put it out on Your Daily Local, which we will do, of course. But for people to put faces to the names and see not just that you're doing this initiative or you're holding this event, but how much it actually means to you. And how important it is, not just for you, but for the community as well. I think it is really, the most important part of having this show. And I'm so glad you guys were able to come down and have this chat with me.
Thank you so much.
Just want to plug it one more time.
Yes, can't go without the
The
plug.
Warren Resource Engagement at the YMCA, Saturday, November 4th, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. There's a resource out there for every veteran. Love to see you there. And I just want to say thank you, veterans, for my freedom. And as a fellow veteran, hope to see you there on November 4th.
And Kevin, thank you for your service and for everything you've done.
Hopefully we'll see your wife down there too.
We'll see.
There's a lot going
yeah.
on that day, so
Yeah.
we understand people are
Could be a
busy.
nerve plug for the YN, right?
Yeah.
You
If,
have community days or something?
oh,
Have
yeah.
what?
Community
It's
days
free
or
day
something?
or something, right?
Oh, it's Community Free Day. Yes, that Saturday, the first Saturday of
Probably
every
gonna hire
month.
me. You know?
Yeah. That's going.
Yeah.
Community Free Day. So the first Saturday of every month is Community Free Day. Anybody and everybody is welcome to come into the Y and to utilize, the many different resources that are there. And I don't know what else to call it than a resource, but the gym, the workout, the weights, the track, the pool. There's just tons of different things.
And we didn't even mention our meetings. So
Oh,
the
yeah.
third Thursday of every month at roughly 11:30, kind of networking for Be Well Collaborative. Following that, we have from noon to 1, usually a roundtable, a speaker. We're kind of usually out by about 1:15ish. 1:30 will be our monthly meetings for Be Well Warrior. So if you don't want to come to the collaborative and you're specific to the warrior side of things and want more information or want to be involved in some way, shape, or form, you can come to the Be Well Warrior meetings. We're always welcoming. And we always have lots to talk about, as if you couldn't see. So those are the third Thursday of every month at the Y.
Warren.
And I.
Because
And
we have
Free.
yes, and that's at 1:30.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So whether you want to be a part of one or both, and I could probably do a whole nother show just on the Be Well Collaborative, but the collaborative is really and truly just a way for different agencies and community members to come together and work to make the community better, a better place to be. So healthier and for everybody.
Yes, and a healthy community is a vibrant community.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah. So that will wrap it up for Coffee and a Conversation presented by White Cane Coffee for today. I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in. Hope you have a great rest of your Saturday. And Jen, Aaron, Kevin, thank you so much for taking some time with us today. We greatly appreciate it. Look forward to seeing everybody at the Warrior Resource Engagement November 4th, 10 a.m. at the Warren County YMCA. This is Brian Hagberg on Your Daily Local saying thank you so much for watching and enjoy the rest of
You know what would make that better? A cup of White Cane coffee.
Wow, that really is great coffee.
White Cane coffee, because every cup makes a difference.
It's not just about music lessons. It's about hard work, perseverance, dedication, self-expression, making memories. Let's make memories together.